So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to For the Love of Pomegranate podcast, joined by my esteemed co-host and colleague, Paddy Kelly. Paddy, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. This is the second podcast we've done today.
Second time in 9 hours.
Second time in 9 hours. Yeah. We did have a bit of crack. It was.
What else would you be doing on a bank holiday? I know it's not a bank holiday for those.
Not a bank holiday in the UK. Yeah.
Yeah.
I found a victim of that already today when I was inside in a meeting at work, and I went, so are you all delighted to be working in your bank holiday? And yeah, I keep on forgetting the bank holiday in the UK is the 28th, I think. It's the end of the month. But we had the draw for the Europa Conference League today. If you didn't see that, go back and watch two confused Irishmen. Well, I way more confused than Paddy because I was listening to it in my earphones while listening to Paddy as they were trying to draw it. But it was good crack. And look, myself and Paddy always wanted Hibs and the potential to have Hibs, should I say, because a lot of people are saying Villa drew Hibs, but they didn't. They drew the winners of Hibs and Luzerne, who play on Thursday night. And we'll all be watching that intently with the potential trip to Easter Road coming up on the 24th of August. And then the reverse fixture then back in Villa Park on the 31st of August, which will be an interesting affair regardless of who we play. Paddy, let's start with something not preview of the season. I know that's what we said in the graphic, but photographs circulating and I see actually you guys, I just opened up the comments there. I see you guys are already talking about it. Photographs circulating about the Holt End, and the top of the T is missing off the Holt End, Paddy, because of some building work that's going on at the moment. I'm led to believe that's the wheelchair access, the wheelchair access accessible seats that is going in there, and that the I suppose the mosaic or whatever you want to call it for the seats is going to be redesigned there. But that's not the terrace view. Sure, it's not, because I've seen on social media that a lot of people were very angry. And look, as I say, I don't have a dog in the fight either way. I just want the mural to be back in there. I want the whole thing to be there in the seats. I think that's pretty cool. I knew the club always said that there was going to be a disabled platform there for access for seats. I think it's eight wheelchair accessible seats and 8 handler seats, or 8 accompanying seats, or whatever the case may be. Yeah, are going to be there, and that there was going to be roughly I can't remember how many seats they said would be taken out for to accommodate that, but. That's not. Am I right in saying that that's what that looks like it is, Paddy? Because the terrace view is on the opposite side, if I'm not right.
Yeah, from what I gather, the terrace view is on the other side of the whole thing. So I don't think that is the case. I'm just more concerned of the fact that the whole thing doesn't have the top of the T. So I want that rectified, because it just looks a bit silly. That's all. It just looks a bit silly. It's aesthetically not pleasing on the eye, and I'm pretty sure they can. With moving around a few seats can sort that out, and it won't look anything different, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, look, it is a hot button topic at the moment, the terrace view, the fact that people can, and we've never actually, I don't think we've spoken about this, Paddy. In fact, we haven't. I know we haven't spoken about this, because I think when you were on holidays, this is when a lot of this came out, or it was always coming out, but it was when I got the email. If I was living in Birmingham right now and I was on the season waiting list, I would have found it difficult not to jump at the chance at that, provided I could afford it. From a selfish point of view, but from a moralistic point of view, I would have been jumping thousands of people in the ticketing line. We can get into the whole terrace view piece in a moment. I think it's been extremely poorly handled. But I think a lot of the backlash to this photograph tonight is because it's assumed that this is what the terrace view is, but the terrace view is actually the outside. I could be wrong, as I say. I just saw the photograph and I was just scrolling through Twitter just before we came on there. But
look, I have an opinion on the terrace view, and people won't like it. some people will understand it when I spell it out to them. But we need to generate income. Where they've made this mistake is they've generated this probably 2 years too early. So my opinion is that there is a place for it, but to jump people in the queue for season tickets was probably a mistake, I feel. And they could have done this in 2 years' time and people would not have even noticed, because I still believe that with all the extra seats that are going to be put in, we'll end up with very little of a waiting list, because there's a lot of people in there whose circumstances have changed, who have moved away, who not working anymore, no interest anymore. And look, there's people that just put their names down there just to be on the list. You don't know what situation. I have a friend who was offered a season ticket this year and just financially couldn't do it. That's just unlucky on his behalf. He's raging, but he's unlucky. So when we see the North Stand rebuilt, we're going to have probably another few thousand corporate seats incorporated in there. So this is progress to have this there. It's probably just been rushed in too quick for me. That's my opinion. Some people would say that's a lot of bollocks, but that's the way I see it. Unfortunately, when you grow, you need to create income from somewhere, and that's what they've decided to do. And I just think they've done it too early. That's all.
Exactly, and I agree with you. I don't have a problem with this. I don't have a problem with the idea of a 1,500-1,600 quid seat if somebody wants to pay for it. My problem with it is the whole thing is kind of sacred. And I know that's the unique selling point at this moment in time. That is the unique selling point at this very moment in time. So when you say 2 years too early, I say probably maybe 3, 4, 5 years too early for the whole end aspect of it. I think you could have brought it in the North Stand. With the new North Stand's going to be built, it's going to be perfect. You can maybe say, hey, yeah, look, we'll give you whatever's going to be built onto the side of it. You get everything with it included for that 1,500 or 1,600 quid. And that could be your enticement. Because what's happened here is the biggest problem for me here is people are moved out of the whole end to facilitate these tickets, and people could have had those tickets for 20, 30 years.
I don't think anyone was moved out of the whole end to facilitate these tickets. There was people moved out of the whole end to facilitate the wheelchair access.
Yes. Sorry, I mean, but people will be asked to move their seat, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
To facilitate the terrace. And people could have those seats for 30, 40 years, you know. And it could be like a family tradition to go to those seats.
Totally get that. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Yeah.
But with regard to the tickets that are being used for the Terrace View, these are tickets that go on general sale to members and season ticket holders want to buy additional tickets. It's not taking someone out of a season ticket to put these in there. And look, I totally believe this is just 2 years too early, and nobody would have batted an eyelid once the North Stand was built. That is exactly where I'm coming from.
Yeah. I think it should be in the North Stand first, though, and then if you want to have a section like that in and around the ground.
The only reason it's in the whole end is because there's space on the other side of the stadium to actually do this facility. Yeah. Now, I haven't seen it. I don't know what they've done with it. I don't know whether they've just put a roof on a concourse. Like, to me, 1,600 quid sounds like an awful lot of money for a season ticket holder to pay to be freezing out in the cold.
Yeah. And just so that you can get ease of access to points, like, hey, come here, I'm going to be honest with you. I know I don't get over to Villa Park that often, or I haven't in recent years. But I don't know what I even get value if I was going there every week. I don't know what I get value out of 1,600 quid for points just to be able to get ease of access to points. And much not as I love my points, like, I don't know, is that it? Look, I think it's fair to say, and I know, Paddy, what you've said there is you've made a reasoned. You've given a reason as to why the club has gone with it. I just think it was probably poorly communicated, and it's probably. As you say, it's timing. The timing of it is kind of incorrect.
It's just ill time. That's all it is. That's all it is. And look, we're going to have to take some hurt to get some results. We all know that. We've like any season ticket holder, like myself, has had to put up with astronomical increments on it. And look, it's a struggle for me to justify it to my own bank balance that I'm paying it. But at the end of the day, my seats are sacred to me, and I'd be pissed off if my seats were being moved like what happened to those guys, up the back of the lower hold. But look, there's a lot wrong. There is a lot wrong, but I believe over the next couple of years, with the new stand being built, with the plans for what will be the new Witten Lane project afterwards, there'll be plenty of tickets for everybody.
Sarko Sarko is somebody who's bought the Terrace View, and he says they showed a central location. Yeah, but I don't think it was this location. I think as Ad says there, I always thought it was the upper Holt as well, was where the Terrace View was going to be, as opposed to the lower Holt. So while the central location could be in the upper Holt as well, I actually think it would take something astronomical to convince me that this isn't the wheelchair, the wheelchair access ramp, or the wheelchair platform
Yeah.
for wheelchair and accessible fans. I think it would. But look, it's yeah, they got to sort out the T, I think, is the big thing. They got to sort out the T, because realistically speaking, you aren't going to notice where that platform is when the whole end is full. You're just not. It's not. It sticks out at the moment because the T is out of place, but you're not going to notice it when the whole end is full. And we're not making excuses. Okay, actually, I just want to say this. We haven't made excuses for either things. Myself and Paddy are just talking about it to try and reasons, to try and figure out why it's been, number one, why the Terrace View was brought in right now, just to try and to see if there is a reason. We could have sat up here and spat out piss and ire, for the last 10 minutes. And to be honest with you, we've done this off camera, but there's enough of that, I think, really. And we agree wholeheartedly with the fact that the away ticket scheme that the Terrace View people get is probably unfair. And where was I going with this, Paddy? What was the next thing I was going to say? This, because I'm absolutely have to lose it. Oh, and skipping the tickets, the season ticket queue, is probably unfair. But look, as you say, if you can afford it, and that's your way of getting a season ticket, more power to you. As I say, there's always going to be instances like that, I suppose. And yeah, it is what it is, and it's happening now, and it's going to be there in 2 weeks' time when Villa rock up to play their first game in Villa Park.
Yes, so I have just done a little bit of Googling here, and it's an outdoor terrace, which is consistent with what I'm looking at here, which is underneath the mosaic on the outside of the upper tier of the Holt End. That's where the Terrace View is. I know for a fact that those seats that you're looking at up the back, they are for wheelchair access. Now, whether you can actually look out there from the Terrace View, I don't know, but it's definitely not Terrace View seating. There's much more of them than would fit into that space. I just have a problem with what they've done aesthetically. It just looks wrong. And it's not in the middle, so it just kind of, I have a little bit of OCD when it comes to things like that, and it just looks a bit silly. Anyway, that's just... I'm ranting a little bit now, but like the main thing that's bothering me is that we can't see the Holt End, and I think the Holt End is iconic and should be looked after and make sure that it looks pristine at all times, because that's what people associate Villa Park with, and it's important. And look, a lad there, Simon says, this is going to be a long show.
Simon, somebody did message me during the week or whatever. I put it up on Twitter saying some meme about podcast host 45 minutes into the show saying, right, we'll get straight into it. And they said that I was one of those podcast hosts, and I'm guilty as charged tonight. But we do have a season preview, Paddy. We spoke about 2 weeks' time when Villa have their first home game. Obviously, this weekend coming, Villa will have their the first game of the new season against Newcastle, and we'll be doing a standalone preview for that. So without getting into the molecular details of each game, and specifically that one, Paddy, this is a season to be excited about, I think. I don't think we're finished in the transfer market just yet. I think there's probably one, maybe two more signings to come, albeit that there is rumblings coming out every time Unai Emery is asked that he's absolutely happy as Larry with everything. I think that there is opportunities there, and I think it's always just this posturing that goes on, without, you want to go into the season telling everybody that you've answered all the questions that you had prior to or at the end of last season. And I think, to be honest with you, to Unai Emery, bar another central striker, I think he probably has answered all those questions, Paddy. But I suppose, talk to me about where the actual squad stands in your mind at this moment in time as we look forward towards 2023-24.
Well, I think regardless to what I say is, so we're here on the 7th of August. there's a whole lot of rumblings and stuff that's still going on behind the scenes. There's a number of changes that are going to be made. But as things stand, we're in a really good place. I do believe, and we've said it many times here, that there are a couple of signings we'd like to see. We'd definitely like to see another striker. We'd definitely like to see another right back. Not to be all and end all of the right back. I do believe we need another striker. I think pre-season has been absolutely excellent. We couldn't have wanted for more. Like our what are we into now? This is our fifth season back in, our fourth season, is it back in fourth? So it's probably the most prepared we've been of all the seasons back in the Premier League. It makes for pleasant reading and viewing to see how organised we are, how well the team have played in pre-season. Yes, I know we've shipped goals, but when you're making changes left, right and centre, that happens. But, you know, it's down to the business end now. We're heading into what would be a cauldron, I would imagine, in St. James's Park at the weekend. But I think we're in a really good place. I think the additions are making us stronger. We're going to see another couple go out. I think we might see Aaron Ramsey leave. Rumours today of Diego Carlos been out the door.
Talk to me about that one, Paddy. You happened to mention half thing to me yesterday about that.
Well, there's an understanding that a club has tabled a bid for Diego Carlos, and I think there's some negotiations going on to whether the bid is good enough or not, or they want more money. But it's like it says to me that he's disposable. I did say last week that I thought that he probably had the weaker of the games throughout the US tour, let's say. So let's see what happens in the coming days. If it's a case that he's on the way out, good luck to him. But I'd equally be happy to see him stick around and see what he's made of, and see if we can get him up to speed. Like I said last week, I felt he was watching that injury. That's just my uneducated view of what was happening. But yeah, someone says it in the comments. Inter Milan have been sniffing around this one. So if they offer enough, maybe he will go out the door. We know that they're further along with the negotiations with Aaron Ramsey as well, which will ultimately mean that we'll probably see more coming in, because we will probably need plenty of cover. I know he likes two people for all positions, so I would imagine he wants 4 centre halves and 4 first choice centre halves. Now, Callum Chambers has played himself into the equation, I think, over the preseason. He's done very well. He hasn't let us down. Obviously, he scored an OG. That can happen to everybody and anybody. Happens to the best of players. Many did Richard Dunn get in his career. But yeah, Ezri Konsa has obviously put his hand up to say, you know, I'm still here. I still believe I'm first choice. He has been absolutely incredible all preseason. And reading between the lines, he's been an utmost professional, despite the fact that his position is definitely under threat. So if Diego Carlos was to go out, that's one position I would definitely say we're going to strengthen on. And maybe he has somebody lined up to come in already, who knows. If it doesn't happen, I'd be equally as happy, because, you know, I do believe we bought a really good player there. He just got a really, really unfortunate injury. And part of me says, okay, if he's not happy with him, let him go. But the other half of me, or probably stronger than half of me, really wants him to stay and see if we can get him back to what he was before that injury. And then on the other hand, you know, he's over 30 now as well. So maybe it's a question of, look, let's cash in here if this offer is good enough.
Yeah, look, I'm torn. I'm not sure he leaves. I don't think he leaves, actually, I'll be honest with you. Unless like someone's going to offer us 25 million or whatever, you know, for him, and we recoup most of our money back. Just don't think he leaves. But Villa often have this this tale of somebody who, and as I say it now, I can't think of somebody, but somebody who it just never really got going for them at Villa, and then they were probably shipped on that bit too early, or circumstances dictated that they didn't fit in. And
Gary Cahill.
Some of you might be listening to the podcast quite a while. I was on doing a Diego Carlos scouting series, and news broke by and this is before we even linked with him. Fabrizio Romano broke Aston Villa has just signed Diego Carlos out of the blue, out of nowhere, live when we were doing the podcast. I was here and I was doing the podcast talking away, didn't listen to the comments. Next thing I opened up the comments, there was about 40 of them there going, who's going to tell Neil he signed 3 or 4 minutes ago? And I was like, he signed. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if he leaves. I don't think he does leave. I don't think he leaves at all. I think we need him, and I don't think the club would absolutely need to sell him. But maybe the player wants to go. Maybe the player sees his pathway blocked as well, and it's one I will keep an eye on, because it didn't cross my radar that he could be somebody who could go out until obviously this rumor was flying around the internet today. But we'll keep an eye on it anyway for sure. But talking about the rest of our squad, Paddy, how do you think? As I say, like, are you as confident as me that there'll be a striker will come in between now and the end of the season, now and the end of the transfer window?
I would be totally shocked if it doesn't happen. I really believe that is his that is his troublesome one, that he just needs one more body in that position. Be that Doku, be it somebody else, whoever it is he chooses to bolster the attacking options. And look, we might see more people go out to balance things up and make sure that we're not going over the 25 bodies that are required, because the last thing you want is fellas sitting around twiddling their thumbs that can't play. So I do believe that the business isn't done until he says it's done. I believe that he told us it was done. It was done. He hasn't done that. He's come out and said he's happy with the goalkeeping situation, and he's given a vote of confidence to Olsen. That's fine. If he thinks he's up to the job, he's the one that's going to have to take the stick if it goes pear shaped and Emi Martinez gets injured or anything like that. Touch wood, it doesn't happen. But I think this is as strong as I remember us being in the Premier League. Like, even if you go back to what we'd call the best period of the Premier League, when it started, then again in 98, 99 times, and then 2009, 2010, we went through those seasons being nearly men for Champions League football, and obviously the fourth season been title contender. But going to the well with the same 13, 14 players, the game has changed beyond belief. And even at that time, the game had changed. If we'd have had 15, 16 players that we could have called on to strengthen things up and switch things up on a match day, things might have been so much different. So here we are, heading into 23, 24 with a really, really, really strong squad. Obviously, I did say I do believe we're light up top. I do believe that has to be the focus in the next couple of weeks, is to get someone in to put pressure on Ollie Watkins and keep him on his toes. And then, of course, we don't have an obvious out-and-out right back. And I do believe they will try, before things get resolved with whatever he wants to do, is Freshneda. Is that how you pronounce his name?
It is now.
It is now. Right, okay. So I reckon if he got him in at a reasonable fee, that would be done and dusted before the transfer window is done. I do believe you have a scouting series ready for him, do you?
I meant to do it before I went away on holidays, but it just didn't get it in there or not. Matthew Long, thank you so much for that. Matthew says we need a striker and lack depth at right back. As Paddy said, a goalkeeper would be the cherry in the top, and cheers to the new season. Thank you so much, Matthew. Really, really appreciate that. Everybody knows my view, or maybe those of you that don't listen to the podcast are new listeners to the podcast, because we've had 10% of our followers that we currently have at this moment in time only started following us in the last 28 days. That's mind-blowing. So like, we're out all of a sudden, like, I remember we're celebrating that we got to 5,000 followers, and I just woke up one day and all of a sudden we were on 6,100 or something. So thank you so much to all the new subscribers to the podcast, and I hope you're enjoying it so far, and I hope we're meeting the needs of your Aston Villa content. Needs, should I say? But where was I going again, Paddy? Oh yes, if everybody has listened to this podcast for a while, you will know that I just have a sneaking suspicion that there's going to be an older type of striker come in here. And I've always had it. I've always had this feeling since Unai Emery came in the door that we're going to snap up a wily old fox who can just kind of come in and cover minutes and be something different and be that guy that's, everybody kind. I'm not saying that we're going to sign like somebody that's completely over the top, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was someone who came in 30, 31 that was looking for another shot at Europe. I don't know who this person is. I would not have said no to somebody like an Aiden Dzeko, but obviously he's too far down the age profile, I think, for me. But I'm thinking somebody to come in, an older type player. And once again, I do not have a clue who that person would be. But I just have this sneaking suspicion, this inkling in the back of my mind that there's a cheap deal to be done there to bring in somebody that at the end of the season we will be looking back and go, geez, wasn't that a great 5 million spent? Because he came up with like 6 or 7 good goals when we needed him.
Where did Olivier Giroud go?
Still with Milan. I love him. You know how much I love him.
I'm a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of him. No, I'm not a big fan of him. I bloody hate him because he always seems to break my heart every time I look at him. But give me him any day of the week. If we got him at the right price for a couple of years to do a job for us, even if he wasn't starting every game, I'd be delighted to see him come in.
Yeah, it's like, well, he's definitely staying at Milan anyway. And talk about the good business we've done. Milan have done some sneaky good business after getting rid of Tonali. Well, not rid, after selling Tonali against his wishes. They've done some sneaky good business as well. But this isn't the Milan podcast. But I don't know who that striker would be, Paddy. And that's for Manchi and for Johan Lange and for Unai Emery to come up with. Now, alternatively, they could go with somebody younger, like I'm seeing Jonathan David here in the comments. You guys know me too well. I'm beating the drum for Jonathan David for the last 18 months to come to Aston Villa. I just think that he is, and people gave it to me in the neck over his performances for Canada in the World Cup. I still stand firm and say that Jonathan David is a really good striker. And he's proved it at Lille. He's proved it actually everywhere he's been in Europe so far by scoring goals. But I don't think he's the man that comes in the door. If he does, once again, the pants will come off, and it will be a lively podcast, put it that way. But I just think that there is a striker to come in here. That the right back situation that you mentioned there, Paddy, about Fresneda, that would be cool because he's a footballing hipster player. Like, it would be great. Like, it would get a lot of players in the content, it would get a lot of players in media, it would get a lot of players. Look, and I'm going to say this fully understanding the fact that this is on YouTube, and what I'm going to say might sound a small bit hypocritical, but the new shift in media, as we've seen in Sky Sports, like they've got your man Togden in there, all these guys have buzzword players and buzzword names, as opposed to maybe the Carragers and the Nevilles that are there. And a lot of, like, it would get people talking about Aston Villa in a different breath by signing one of these players that was, number one, supposed to have signed for Arsenal, then was supposed to have signed for Dortmund, then was supposed to have signed for Barcelona. Aston Villa were to come in and snag him at right back. That gets people talking about. And once again, we spoke about brand building. We spoke about things previously about from the operational side and the financial money making side of things. There's also a perception thing as well. And if Aston Villa can start, they've won the perception battle already with the Abbey, beating out Saudi Arabian clubs. They've won it with Pau Torres. Man United couldn't get it over the line last season, and Yuri Tielemans on free. So they've done really good business already this season. And then to cap it off with getting a real young starlet that was on everybody's lips to go to, 19 years of age, I think, that was on everybody's lips to go to top Premier or top Euro Champions League clubs. That would be another statement signing. Now, I'm not in it for statement signings. I'm in it for good players who come in here and make the team better. And I think, Paddy, that would be a huge one if we were to get it over the line. I also am not ruling out another midfielder. I'm not ruling out. I think there's too much in this Tyler Adams stuff.
I wouldn't rule anything out, but you're asking me what I think we need.
Sorry, yeah.
I wouldn't rule out the professor doing anything with this team. There's still a lot of talk about Luka Dean going to Saudi Arabia as well. So like anything is possible here. And the fact that he kept playing Pau Torres at left back was making me think maybe there is something in this. So there's a lot that could happen. So it's still very early. I don't remember. Has the league ever started this early before the transfer window? We'll effectively have played. Yeah.
Sure. So did they not start it earlier last season?
It did start earlier last year. Yeah, because the or was it the year before? It ran a whole lot later because of COVID. I can't remember. Anyway, it's I'm sure a lot of managers would prefer to be kicking off the season with it closed, so they know exactly what they're dealing with for the season. We could be starting players on Saturday that mightn't see the 31st of August with us, so it'll be really, really interesting to see what we like. I just have this opinion that I feel if he's going to get something done, it's going to be done this week, because that's the kind of person he is. He likes to have everything done and dusted. He's meticulous in everything he does. So I'm sure he'd rather have the people in starting the season that are the ones that he's going to rely on rather than trying to panic buy towards the back end of this month.
I don't know. Put it this way: if we go to Luzern or Hibs and we're 4-0 up after the first leg, I bet you there's a signing comes in before the 31st of August or whenever it closes, because I know we're playing. So that to me, when does the transfer window close?
31st of August it closes.
We'll be playing the night of. So
no, it closes on the 1st, as far as I know, the Friday night, and we play Liverpool on the Sunday.
More sense.
Yeah,
that makes more sense. Yeah, it closes. Doesn't even tell me here now. Yeah, so there you go. I think a deal will be lined up consequent of us getting into the group stages of the Europa League, and that's where I think our striker comes. That's when I think ours. Just as well to clarify, because I see some people asking me where would a new midfielder play. He won't. I think if we sign a midfielder, I think we probably will do it in Dunker in this and sign a midfielder for somewhere between 13 to 20 million, and there will be a squad rotational player, because that's what good teams do. And I don't think 20 million in the greater scheme of things, when you see Chelsea have now bought tons of young players for 20 million and will have them, essentially basting, waiting to be ready to spring, whether they're out on loan or whatever. I think I don't see it being a barrier to Aston Villa. I'm not 100% sure it'll happen, but I don't see it be a barrier to the squad building at Aston Villa, considering we've got 4 centre halves that are all worth a pretty penny at this moment in time. And arguably the 2 of them on the bench would be our 2 most expensive centre halves come Newcastle at the weekend. So I think we just want to future-proof that midfield. I think for sure. But as I say, it's just a little folly of mine. I do think the striker is more prevalent. Paddy, we're not going to go down game by game or anything like that. We're not going to look, but with any of these preseason podcasty things or preview podcasty things that we do, we always want to talk about where do you think the club are going to finish. Now, I can hear you, but I've got an alarm here that's just going to go off in a moment, so I need to plug this in. Baby monitor, should I say? So I can hear you, but where do you think Aston Villa, what do you think a realistic position for that you would have for Aston Villa to finish in this season?
But now I have to decide how I drag out this answer, because it's fairly straightforward. I believe that was quick. I didn't even answer. I believe we will finish in a similar situation to where we were last year. I've a feeling we will finish in the European places, most likely 6th or 7th. That's the way, because we will see a Chelsea or a Spurs coming at us hot and put the pressure on. But our main concern is to get people to drop out of there. So to be better than Brighton, to be better than Newcastle, maybe, is where we squeeze into the higher positions. This is a huge season for the Premier League for those who are, let's say, not previous winners, because all of a sudden you've got an extra position in the Champions League. So 5th place gets you Champions League this year due to the expansion of the competition the following season. So for me, if we got 5th, I think that would be a monumental finish to our season. but I would gladly take 6th if it means we win a cup as well. I think that's important to get a little bit of a celebration and a little bit of happiness around the club. I'd take 7th again if we won the Conference League and get us into the Europa League, just to take that step up. But I do believe we have what it takes. I do believe we have a manager that will push us on, and I expect at least a 1-place improvement. So let's nail my colours to the mast and say they're going to finish 6th.
So I think Villa could finish 6th as well. Now, Paddy, I'm going to challenge you on something. By challenge, I'm going to ask a question that you're going to find a small bit difficult to answer for different reasons. Why do you think Spurs are going to come back at and be a force in the league this season? Because obviously, and the reason I'm saying this is because Ange Postecoglou is over them. You've seen he did a great job at Celtic, and so on. People are assuming that he's going to be just that good in the Premier League. I'm not 100% sure, but then again, what the hell do I know about him?
Well, I mainly name checked Chelsea there. If you go back and listen to what I said, I do believe that Chelsea will.
Oh no, you did, and I agree with you. I think Chelsea
and
better
Spurs
manager. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, Spurs will definitely finish higher than they were last year. The problem with Spurs is they expect more, and this project of Ange Postecoglou, which took a year to get going with Celtic as well, Spurs don't give people a year. The fans give them 3 or 4 games and they want people out. They're a weird breed of fan when it comes to their manager. So
they're going to come for me now, Paddy.
I should bring them on. But look, Ange Postecoglou has done absolute wonders in what I've seen in the few years at Celtic. The way he has got them playing, what he instills into a team is a never stop philosophy. You cannot tune out for 2 seconds or you're off that pitch. That's the way he works. It's absolutely relentless. His motto is "We never stop." It's actually brilliant to watch. It's a brilliant system. It works really, really well. Whether the bigger players at Spurs buy into it would be my concern. I'd say he wants Harry Kane out of there and start a rebuild without him. I think that would be the best thing that would happen to him. So that's my opinion.
Coming for me now, Paddy. They're definitely coming for me now after you've said that.
No, but look, it's obvious they're trying to get as much money as they can. Will at some stage, the win at some stage, they will press the red button and go, yeah, send the money. He's on his way. That will happen. I know it'll happen. We all know it'll happen. Or else somebody else is going to come in and go, oh, all of a sudden, who was it? Any Loku's philosophy? Somebody else comes in looking for Harry Kane, and next thing, Bayern Munich go, look, how much do you want? And he'll go. But I think that is the most important thing that will happen to Spurs this year, is that he leaves, because that will bring the project on a little bit quicker than I envisage it will happen with Harry Kane in there, because he's definitely not going to be given the money to make things better by Daniel Levy anyway, that's for sure.
Okay, now I'm going to be deserving of the Spurs fans probably coming at me now, but their owner, Joe Lewis, has just been done for insider training over in the United States. He's going to have a big long battle in his hands, long costly battle. Now I know he's got money to burn over there, but 100 million for Harry Kane. Will they see 100 million for Harry Kane go back in? Like they've done it with Bale as well before. They've sold a big player. They've tried to replace him with 5-6 players or whatever it was. It's going to need a bit of a thought process. Matt Hayes from the Tottenham Football Blog has been on this podcast 2 or 3 times previously. Really great time. Good mate of mine. Matt, really measured view. I'd like to talk to him about this, because they're a club this season that I don't know what to make of them, and they're in a bit of flux with Harry Kane at the moment. I don't see him going, but I also don't see him signing a new contract. And I think if he leaves in a free, oh boy, they will absolutely burn the new stadium to the ground.
They'll burn Daniel Levy in it. I think if they go for nothing, it's
like something has to be sorted out with it. You think? I think so. Like, and it's funny. Levy normally is a shrewd operator, but he doesn't hold many of the cards in this one. I don't think he holds many of the cards, and it's his fault he doesn't hold many of the cards, because for different reasons. Anyway, this isn't the Spurs podcast. This is an Aston Villa podcast. But you mentioned Chelsea there as well. It's more of a season review. We will get on. I suppose let's talk a little bit about that, because obviously they're spending like drunken sailors. They've recouped money like a good bit as well. But Pochettino coming in there, like, that's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. Well, it has for me anyway. I just sometimes forget and I go, oh yeah, Pochettino's in there. He immediately makes them 15 to 20 points better off than they were last season before a player is bought. You think that as well? I know since based on what you said there previously, and the reason we're talking about this is obviously teams that have improved to finish above us. You think that that just him alone is good enough for Chelsea? Do you? Because I kind of do.
Yeah, look, he's a world-class manager, a world-class coach. He has a good philosophy on coaching, in that he doesn't accept that one player is better than another. His philosophy is that everything is a cog that wheels together, and if you don't wheel as a part of that machine, you're out the door. That's the way he operates. So he is going to be a big gain for them, but they need to shift bodies. They need to sort out all of their roster, like, because it's just so bloody big. You know, you can't run his philosophy on football with that many players trying to keep happy. That many big players trying to keep happy is what I mean.
Yeah. Well, Dara just joined and he said, sorry, just joined. Have you got to Liverpool winning the league yet? We haven't mentioned Liverpool because they finished above Aston Villa last season. So we're talking about teams that are going to
Well, I technically did mention them when I said teams that had previously won the league. So that was what I meant by that.
Yeah.
So,
and I think the business they've done has been really good. Really good, especially in that midfield, in the midfield region. Getting back to Aston Villa, Paddy, Cups. We've got Mr. Cup. Although he wasn't against Stevenage last season, we've got Mr. Cup winner, Unai Emery in, and I think he took that defeat last season a bit to heart. I see us going bang out for a cup this season. I just really do. And I know everybody says that every year, going, oh yeah, I'd love to win a cup. Like, do you ever really believe that you can go win a cup? But we have a manager that's just proven he can win cups. Like, whether it's the Europa Conference League, whether it's the League Cup, whether it's the FA Cup, I don't think we win the FA Cup. I think teams take it too seriously now, and that's not denigrating Aston Villa, but you need luck of the draw essentially. But I think of all the three cups, the Europa Conference League is there to be won. Like, I think it's there to be won by anyone. To me, it's probably the most competitive European competition, which is amazing, because I remember when it's announced, I have not gone back to listen to the podcast, but I would imagine if I go back and listen to it, I probably said it was a lot of shite and we didn't need it. But it's turned out to be an incredibly competitive tournament. But I think that we can go. I think that there's, that if we get into the group stages, and it's not a given, this man knows how to get far in cups, and he's done it against better opposition with arguably lesser talent in the squad at Sevilla, and that's very arguable now, I know, but still, it's something I think we should all be looking forward to. Or should we? Are we getting out of our skis?
Well, look, it's a difficult conversation to there's an argument on either side, and my concern is, isn't there teams that drop out of the Europa League into this competition in February? Isn't that how it works?
Yeah.
If you look at the bookies now, the bookies will tell you that Eintracht Frankfurt are the favourites for this tournament and we're second. That's what the bookies are saying. So that argument is flawed by the fact that you could have world beaters, former Champions League winners, dropping out of the Europa League into the Conference League and really putting the cat amongst the pigeons later on. So you don't know what's going to happen in February or March. All we've got to do is give ourselves a fighting chance by the time it comes around, that we don't have to play any. Like, if you remember, Man United came in and played a playoff game. Was that the Europa League last year that they lost in?
I don't know.
The whole thing is so complicated. Like, you were watching the draw today. Why they have to complicate things so much is just bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Spend more time looking at fellas in suits on stage than telling us what's actually happening. Yeah. So there's a lot going on with this tournament, and my concern is what comes in February. But I do believe we have enough to go as far as possible in this. I'm not saying we're going to win it, but I definitely think we'll be there at the business end, semi-final or final stage.
Oh, I think if we get into the group stages, I think you have to think that way. You know, with Rangers getting so far in there previously, with West Ham winning it last year. You know, there's depending on what way it goes, you know, there's a gateway that opens up, but then does it have a detrimental effect on your league performance? Once again, we've got a manager who's used to playing Thursday, Sunday throughout all his career. So once again, that will be where this 15 to 20 million pound midfielder that comes in and is a rotational player would fit in, and also where the striker would fit in. Like if we were to go away and get that a striker, maybe spend 20, 25 million on a striker. And I know, look, they're two big numbers for a club like Aston Villa to go and spend another 45 million. In the greater scheme of things, it's not. But I'm talking about where Villa are potentially in an FFP situation. No one wants to talk about it. I certainly don't bring it up whenever I'm talking about these players. But let's just say Unai goes back and raids Betis for Borja Iglesias, something like that. You know, their striker. I think he scored double figures in the last 4 seasons in La Liga. Big guy, 6'2". Might do a scouting series on him for the crack since I've just brought up his name. Let's just say that happens, you know. That's where we're going to need the squad strength. He's a completely different striker than anyone we have at this moment in time. That's why I've brought him up. But I think we should be hopeful more so than expectant. I think with regards to that. Now, of all the cups, I've always said it, of all the cups that we're going to be in, it's the FA Cup is for me. FA Cup is special. I think if Villa were to win the FA Cup, there would be, that'd be a big one. There could be tears shed, because it's just, I don't know what it is. It's the cup that I always kind of grew up wanting to win as a fan, and I think it's, I think it would be great. Like it's 57 was the last.
Well, if you said to me you can have the FA Cup or the Conference League, it's the FA Cup for me all day long.
I think so too.
Mainly, probably due to our age profile that we grew up being. Probably the FA Cup was the highlight of the year because it was the one day of the year that football started at 9 o'clock in the morning and went till about 9 o'clock at night with all the different programs around it, the different people interviewed. It was just the greatest day of the year. I've had 2 FA Cup finals with Aston Villa, and they're 2 of the hardest days I have to talk about. You know, that the old Wembley against Chelsea, and then a few years ago against Arsenal, losing 4-0 absolutely broke me. I've also had 2 Carling Cup and Carabao Cup where the referee absolutely broke me against Man United in 2010 when not sending off Vidic, and then the linesman gave a corner that Man City scored from in the one 3 years ago. So it's been nothing but heartache getting to cup finals. Now, obviously, I was lucky enough to be there the last time we won it against Leeds in 1996, and that was probably the most amazing day as an Aston Villa fan. And I love to see sports like your game, American football, where literally anything can happen and a team can go on a run and win a Super Bowl, and it gets mixed up every year, and you don't get people winning 4 in a row or 5 in a row or anything like that.
No, we hate teams winning 4 in a row here, Paddy, don't we? Get out of that. The 2 of us with our GA teams. Jesus, that's an Irish joke. No one's going to get that anyway. But go on. I fucking love it personally.
It just would be great for us and any other team that doesn't normally win. Like Newcastle is a prime example. Absolutely starved of trophies. You know, there's 3 or 4 generations of people there that have never seen them win a trophy. And came so close again this year. So there's a lot of people out there to try and win these cups. It's going to be difficult, and I'm certainly not taking it for granted that we'll be at the business end. But I do think with a little bit of luck, we could be at the business end of the Conference League.
Paddy, who's going to be our top scorer?
Our top scorer this year will. That's probably a question to ask me before we play Liverpool on the 2nd of September. How's that?
I knew you were going to say that. I think it's going to be Ollie Watkins again. I think Ollie Watkins is.
Well, if nothing else happens, it's Ollie Watkins. But if put it to you this way, with the firepower we now have of fellas breaking into the box, I believe we're going to get a good few penalties this year. So if we brought in another striker to took penalties, that could jump on Watkins.
He's not taking them. He's not taking them. Even I'm not too sure he should be taking penalties as well. But yeah, I agree. Who do you think is going to score Aston Villa's first goal, Paddy? Why not just do something bonkers? Like
First goal of the season, I am going to say comes from a set piece and Tyrone Mings at the back post with a header.
We'd love it. I'm going to say first goal of the season is going to be scored by Dougie Louise. No reason other than first person just came into my mind. I think he's been our best player in pre-season. And I think he's really reaching really good levels. He's the level of play that he's played with since Unai Emery has come in here, and the fact that he's stayed with the club, I think he's going to get better this year. And I think we will be fielding some serious offers for him next season, without bringing the tone down. But I think he's getting to that level as a 24, 25-year-old that next year I think we'll field some serious offers for him. And it's up to Aston Villa to be in a position whereby we can keep him, because we're on the progressive nature. Paddy, who's going to get Aston Villa's first red card?
Jeez. God, who knows? I have someone. That would be a difficult one to pick. That could be a last man pull down on playing the high line or something like that. But yeah, that's a difficult one. There's very few fiery characters in there. Yeah, that's a difficult one to answer.
I'm going to go with Luca Dean. I'm going to go with Luca Dean. And I'm going to go with Luca Dean. Fella gets around him, breaking in towards the box, and Luca Dean just cleaves him from behind. It's a premonition that I've had. He's going to get our first red card of the season.
I really hope there's not too many of them.
I hope there's none of them, yeah, but it's a bit of fun. Paddy, what manager is going to get sacked first in the league?
Sacked first or leave his job first?
Either or. Which manager will be the first not to be the manager of their team this season?
I envisage before this transfer window ends, Lopetegui be gone from Wolves.
Yeah. On
his terms, not from the club, on his terms.
With the length of this podcast, I envisage before the end of this podcast, Paddy, Lopetegui could be gone. Gone from Wolves. Yeah. Wolves are in disarray. I'm sorry to say it. If we've got any of our Black Country brethren listening to this, I
don't care. I don't care what anyone's dislike of Wolves is. It's good for the region to have teams in the Premier League, and you know the question as why I phrased it that way was I do believe that David Moyes could go as well, but I think Lopetegui will walk before the season starts. I think there's potential there for Lopetegui to do what Martin O'Neill did to us, even this week. So it'll be interesting to see.
I think it will be. Yeah, I think it will be. What player that has, obviously in the window isn't shut, but what player that has been signed into the Premier League, Paddy, from outside the Premier League, you're most looking forward to seeing that isn't an Aston Villa player?
I've honestly no idea. You know, generally the ones that you expect to see something magic from doesn't happen. I know last year was a little bit different because we knew Haaland was going to be a success. I don't know. I'm interested to see the transition of Onana in Man United to see if he's up for the Premier League pace and the pressure.
The weekend, did you see that?
He did. So, Man United have had. We discussed this in the last week or so, where I said, you know, Taibi, Bosnich, all these high-profile keepers come in and didn't work out, and their careers nearly fell through the floor afterwards. So, that one for me is the most interesting one. I think that is to see if he can adjust to playing in that Man United team and playing in the Premier League would be. But there's a whole lot of super players coming in. Did Man City announce Gvardiol or whatever way you pronounce it? Is that done?
No, not yet. But it's more or less. It's more or less done.
And having said about Onana being up to the pace, to see how Tonali does for Newcastle, I think it'd be a huge shout as well. He's the potential to light up the Premier League for me, but if he's not up to the pace, let's see what happens.
I'm looking forward to seeing Liverpool signing whose name I'm going to absolutely butcher. Dominic Szoboszlai, the guy they signed from Leipzig. On his day, he is like he's box office. He's Martin Gams Pedersen on crack cocaine is what he is for highlights and for a highlight reel player. I'm really looking forward to seeing him. I think Nkuku as well, the Chelsea signed. I think he's going to be a pretty decent player. But the player that I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can cut it, because he's had a meteoric rise, is Højlund, the guy that's signed for Manchester United. Because I'm of the belief that Manchester United having a proper centre forward was always a thing we had when we were growing up, and I fucking hated it. But when they haven't had one for so long, it kind of feels like there's something missing in the Premier League. And albeit I still want them to fail and drop like a stone through the league, don't get me wrong. I think that they might have got a good one. I think they might have got a good one there in Højlund, albeit he's had a meteoric rise. Let's see, can he bring it on to the next level now? So I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing him if he is somebody that's. But realistically, like I know I mentioned outside of Aston Villa, the player I really want to see in the Premier League this season is Moussa Diaby, because I just think he's electric. I think he's absolutely Mr. Box Office, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him. And that's my real answer, but I phrased the question the opposite way. Paddy, who's going to win the league?
Who is going to win the league? I just can't see past Man City. I just can't. Unfortunately. Yeah. I would like to see someone break that, stop the how many in a row have they won now? 2 or 3, is it? Whatever. It's not good for the game. It's not good for the game. And I'd like to see the league come out and punish them for those 115 things that they've allegedly done wrong. But I do think Arsenal will push them. There was what a lot of people I saw called them out for over celebration of yesterday. I think yesterday was just laying down a marker, and they were happy to have one up on Manchester City going into the new season, and they're right to celebrate it. No matter what you win, celebrate it and enjoy it.
Yeah,
that's just look. I would love Villa to be playing in a Community Shield, because that means we've done something.
Yeah.
So they won the honor to be there, to be playing Man City in that, and they beat them yesterday on penalties, which was great. So I would like to see someone else do it, but I just can't see past it. They're a machine, absolute machine. And I think any type of punishment would really hurt their future. But let's just see if the league have the balls and the evidence to stand up against them, and the Court of Arbitration for Sport, which they'll no doubt go to when this is all brought in. So there's a lot to consider with it. If anything else happens with regard to that, if there was a point deduction, somebody else is going to win the league. I do believe that, but I do believe Man City will, as things stand, walk it.
I think Liverpool. I think Liverpool have started out midfield. I think they've got another defensive signing up their sleeve before the end of the year. Somebody like a Castellan Lekegbu from Lyon, something along those lines. A young up and coming player that they're going to snag for something in the region of 20, 25, 30 million euros. I think a lot of last season was, Joe Gomez didn't have the finest of seasons last year. I think they struggled because they had no midfield. Sorry, I won't say no midfield. At times they were passive in midfield. I think now they've brought in McAllister, and they're probably not finished in midfield either yet. And Szoboszlai, as I mentioned there previously, and somebody else whose name escapes me at the moment. Their firepower is huge. They have the best strike force in the Premier League. Liverpool, like they have strikers and wingers for days. Like Saturday, let's just say somebody gets injured, Luis Diaz gets injured, they bring on Diego Jota, they have Darwin Núñez, they have Cody Gakpo, they have Salah, they have all the firepower they need. They need one tightening up defender at the back. They've got a really good goalkeeper, and now I think they've got the midfield to really rattle teams. Maybe they don't have the depth of squad yet, but Curtis Jones is going to be a year older. I think Liverpool are going to be the team this season. I think they're going to be really good, and I think Liverpool are going to win the league. I'm really just because I didn't want to say Man City, but I think I've made a good enough point.
But their main concern now is keeping everybody fit, because they're still a little bit light, I believe, player wise, as in squad not big enough with proper players of that standard. That's my opinion on it. I do believe they will push on for sure next season, and they will be a lot better than they were. It'll be an interesting one, but I still believe it'll be Arsenal pushing Man City. I think Arsenal are further along in their project and they're a lot more settled.
Paddy, that's going to do it, I suppose, for our predictions for this season. I said I was going to name winners of tickets to our live podcast sometime last week, and I said I'd do it on Monday the 7th of August. And I'm going to do that now to end the podcast. We're going to end the podcast on a happy note. Got a ton of emails. So I decided to try it differently this time. I wanted to get emails. I wanted people to email in and tell me why they wanted the tickets. Obviously, prove it with some sort of social media handle so that we could see that they're a real person. I originally said I was going to give away one set of tickets. I'm going to give away two because there were so many emails that came in, and both of them have been picked at random. And if you are listening to the podcast, they're going to give away 3 sets of tickets. 3 sets of 2 tickets.
Really?
I got some. Yeah, I know, Paddy. Paddy, we're talking about how many tickets can we give away? We started off thinking we were only going to give away 2. I'm actually going to give away 3, and the reason being is because
I'm having a fucking heart attack here, Neil.
Because so many people want to come, and fuck it, it's amazing because we're only 2 gobs and sticks here that they can't believe our luck that we managed to sell out the venue. And the 3 sets of tickets that I have picked out are, one is for a man by the name of Sean Gallagher. If you're listening, Sean, I'm going to contact you via email. Well done, Sean. There's going to be 2 tickets for you on the door. Doesn't include accommodation or travel. Unfortunately, it doesn't. You'll have to make your own way there and find somewhere to stay in Dublin that night. But Sean, you are going to be the recipient of a set of tickets. You were pulled out at random. Another man by the name of Anthony Harden. If you're listening to the podcast, Anthony, you were picked out as well. 2 tickets will be there for you. And lastly, and I had to laugh at it because this lady called me Paul, but she still got picked out at random to get a set of tickets. Ciara Farrell, you have a set of tickets as well for you, one for you and your partner Michael, Ciara says that everything gets put on pause for the team sheet tantrum, and everyone's told shut up when the team sheet tantrum comes on. So it was funny when I was reading through it again afterwards. So so there's going to be 2 tickets there. So well done, guys. There was a massive response to this competition. We originally had 4 tickets to give away. I'm going to give away a second set of tickets. That means my parents can't come, but they're fine. It's grand. They're sick of me as it is. But so congratulations, everybody. There's one tickets, and as I say, I still can't get over how many people want to come to watch us. We better start getting a kind of a podcast, kind of a running order and a list of what we're going to do on the night, Paddy, because it's a month away. It's a month away now. It's 33 days away. We better start getting things in order, shouldn't we? You're gone. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Just because we've had loads of messages from people who want to go but can't get a ticket. If you're not going, please do send us an email, or if you've bought a ticket and you can't go, you find you can't go, send us an email. We'll put you in touch with someone who's looking for a ticket. Because literally every morning I wake up, there's somebody looking for tickets.
Yeah. So do not buy tickets on Facebook.
Oh yeah.
Well, we put up this competition on Facebook, and suddenly loads of people with 2 first names were just already there was 12 people were selling like 4 tickets, and I was looking down and was going, no one bought 4 tickets themselves to this, like all under the one name. This is a load of nonsense. But don't get caught that way. Because it's as I say,
and before someone has a heart attack, some people did actually buy 4 tickets. I can tell you one off the top of my head. But Yeah, and they all seem to be women for some reason that were selling those on Facebook. So if somebody was looking to buy a ticket, please don't buy them off somebody on Facebook. We will try over the next few weeks, because people's circumstances have changed, or they may be invited to a wedding or on holidays or whatever in the time that we went on sale. If that's happened to you, please do get in touch with us. We'll sort them out with a good home for you, which a few people have done already. So that's the easiest way.
Michael said, guys, I'm sure you'll sell out if you went live in Birmingham. That's the dream. That'll be the dream sometime soon. We'll see. Centre circle in Villa Park. For anyone, yeah, we get away with that, surely. If the Arsenal Fan TV boys can get in there, we can surely get in there. That's right. So look, this is to say, guys, thanks so much for that. We're an hour and 5 minutes. Holy God. We better get away back to sleep, Paddy. But thanks so much, everybody, for watching and for listening. And if you think you know of anybody who would like the podcast, put them our way. Maybe not for this one, because I wouldn't like to introduce anybody into an hour and 5 minutes of our ramblings tonight. But surely there's other podcasts they might like that we've done previously that you could put them in contact with. But thanks so much, everybody, for sticking with us for over 60 minutes tonight. Congratulations as well to the winners of the tickets. Any more news that we have on tickets as well, guys, we will let you know ASAP. And thanks so much for all the interest as well. A thumbs up as well before we leave, and click on the subscribe button as well. We'll probably be back. So tomorrow's Tuesday, Paddy. We'll probably end up being back maybe on Wednesday or so to do a preview of the Newcastle game. And obviously, if anything else breaks in the meantime, then we'll be back and we will chat on that as well. But thanks a million for giving us your time today. We had nearly 7,000 people watch the Europa Conference draw this morning, which was madness. And then some of you guys came back for a second helping tonight. So we really appreciate your time, because you can never get that time back. And hopefully we've made it worthwhile. So see you all again maybe Wednesday. And until then, everybody, stay safe, stay healthy. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.
Up the Villa.